This scene was designed to follow a much longer opening sequence with Josh Holloway as Hannaway and Jane and Benji and their failed mission. And, and this scene was intended to show Jane's reaction to that failed mission. And she and Benji get another mission to go to Moscow to help Ethan escape. We just felt that it was draggy, and it was a much better idea to have a little tiny bit of the Hannaway sequence at the beginning, cut to the scene of Ethan in prison, and then play the rest of the Hannaway stuff in sort of a flashback. Much better approach, I think, and I'm glad we went with it.
Now?
Good afternoon, Agent Carter. The Secretary has designated Budapest ongoing, threat level red. Proceed directly to Moscow with the remaining members of your team. There, you will extract your new team leader, debrief him on Budapest, and await further orders.
He's trying to go from where?
As always, should you or any member of your team be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions. Good luck, Jane. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
This scene was a difficult one for us to do, and ultimately we never really figured it out. And the idea was to explain the villain's psyche and why he was doing what he was doing. And we had various different versions of this scene and different locations for them to be in. And this location was a good location because it showed that he had some resources he could pull together at his disposal. It implied that he was traveling somewhere, loading stuff onto a plane. But ultimately, it amounted to a walk and talk, and we could never really get the scene beyond that. And it never really had dramatic force other than the end of the scene where the character of Leonid attacks the Hendricks character and the Hendricks character quickly reverses it, which is really the only thing that I ultimately regret losing, a demonstration that Hendricks had some fight training and could, very quickly handle something, which was helpful in setting up the end scene with Hendricks, fighting Ethan.
Of course, I know what encryptions you would institute, because
ultimately, though, we felt it was stronger without these scenes, as they tended to slow down the momentum and not really tell us much more than extra detail that didn't really have all that much to do with making other scenes work better. So when we were looking at what could be cut, it never really demonstrated its own importance. So we snipped it.
That is right, because I have a family now. A child.
your child will inherit a planet on a path to destruction, brought about by weapons capable of horrors far greater than what I'm proposing. We create the atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable devastation. Then what do? We increase the power and number 100-fold, 1,000-fold, and that still wasn't enough. Now they're working on weapons to rip apart the very foundations of life. Mankind won't stop until mankind is stopped. Of course you understand this, Leonid. We studied the numbers together. Humanity, in its current equation, has evolved into an unwinnable scenario. The only way to second chance is to erase the board.
You can do this.
I am doing this. We are doing this. Cause and effect. Cause, effect. The only thing you have control over is whether or not I will release your family.
This is the first piece of music we recorded for the film with a full orchestra. Michael and I had gotten used to the Pixar approach of recording for a day and then having some time to digest what it sounded like with a full orchestra before we recorded any more. And that's what we did here. When I first heard this music, it was wonderful music, but I felt that it was kind of like they were driving into a wall, that there was something kind of dark and oppressive about the music. And I asked Michael about it, and he said, well, yeah, they're headed into disaster. And I kind of said to Michael, yeah, but they don't know it at this point. They kind of think they have a good plan. And the other thing that I felt was that it needed to have more of a flavor of that part of the world, so that each country we went to in Mission had a little musical identity. Michael, knocked that approach out of the park, and the theme that he wrote for this sequence is one of my favorite cues in the final film. Also, you can see that we have some extra shots here that ultimately we didn't need, so we cut.
I'm not good at this.
We filmed this scene twice, and obviously this is the first version of the scene. And it was a scene designed to show Paula's character, Jane, having doubts about her ability to pull off this seduction part of the mission with Brijnath, the Indian playboy.
Look, I don't seduce.
While the scene has some really snappy, lines that would play great in a trailer, and fantastic chemistry between Paula and Tom, there was something off about it, and Paula is the one who kind of caught it. She came up to Tom and I while we were doing this scene and said that she didn't understand why Jane's character wouldn't do whatever was required to pull off the mission, and certainly a little flirting wouldn't be beyond her, and even maybe, a lot of flirting.
I'll be there with you the whole time, and I'll talk you through it.
That's supposed to reassure me that you'll be listening to me humiliate myself.
You're a very attractive woman, and men are simple.
Tom and I didn't have a good answer for her. We gamely tried because we kind of liked the scene, but when push came to shove, Paula was right, and we knew it, so we rewrote the scene and reshot it, and I think definitely the better scene is in the movie. But there is still a nice flavor to this scene, and both Tom and Paula acted it really well. So, I enjoy it, even though I think we made the right choice.
I pretend to be attracted to someone when I'm not. And even when I am, I don't send signals. I mean, not signals that you can read anyway. When it matters most, I fail. And that moment's gone.
Hanoi. You never told him, have you?
Did it make you feel better? When you killed the man who murdered your wife.
Doesn't bring me back.
It is a pretty color.
This is a dopey little idea that came out of the fact that we had cut a scene where Jane was trapped, and in that room was a snack machine with Indian snacks. And I hated wasting that, so I thought, what if I had Wistrom crunching the chips while Hendrix was going through all this missile stuff? Sam Lee is very funny in this scene, but ultimately it was distracting and not the right idea.